So for a long time, I've been wanting to do a frequently asked questions video. Well, I've been wanting to do any video because I haven't done a single video yet. I've started my YouTube channel and I wanted to get some content going. So the first thing I thought I would do is answer some questions I get on my Instagram quite a lot. So people always want to know how many locks I have. And I'm actually not going to tell you guys because it seems like everyone loves doing a lock count video. So I'm going to do a lock count video too. What method did you use to start your locks? I use the interlock method to start my locks. I also maintain with the interlock method. So I've been doing that the entire time. No weird twisting, just the interlock method. What products do you use in your hair? I really don't use any products besides water, my shampoo that I use, which happens to be Shea Moisture, the brown one, which is like castor oil and apple cider vinegar or something to that extent. I also have a Tejan product, but I'm not a big fan of that one. It's really moisturizing, but it's really liquidy and it hasn't lasted long at all. After I wash my hair, I usually oil my scalp. I oil my scalp with a mixture of oils. I have grapeseed oil, a little bit of tea tree oil, a dab of coconut oil, and whatever other oils I have, I just kind of mix in there. And then I oil my scalp with a color applicator bottle. You know, the one with the really skinny cap. That I oil my scalp and then I rub it in and then that's it. And then when I want to lay down my cowlick baby hairs, I use Eco Styler, of course. How often do you retwist? Well, I don't retwist at all because I interlock, but I interlock anywhere between 6 and 8 weeks. Sometimes I do 5 weeks, but I never really go over 8 weeks. It really just depends on how my hair is behaving, how much new growth I have, and what events are coming up. So if I have an event coming up, obviously I may push that timeline forward so that I can be, you know, laid for the event. Can you show us how to interlock? I would love to do that. I think I'm gonna have to make an entirely different video to show how to interlock. It's actually much easier than most people think. And if you do it correctly, which again is really easy, you will not have holes in your locks. It's not going to make your locks thinner or all those other things that people say about interlocking. It's just not true. Next question. How big are your locks? That's a really difficult question to answer because, I mean, they're as big as they seem in pictures and on screen. Some of them are smaller than others. I didn't want to make any of my locks on my edges thick, or I know a lot of times people have bigger parts around their edges. I didn't want that because this hair is very fine and it's like a mix of like baby hair fine and then like some of my textured hair. So I just like to be kind to it. So all of them are, you know, small parts so it's not too heavy. Then you have some that are a little bit chunkier. These, you know, I just got a mix. I did my parting and then my hair did what it wanted to do. Okay? And I'm fine with that. So I like the size locks that I have. Of course, sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish I had fewer locks just because maintenance would probably take way less time. But, you know, you get different size locks, you can get different things, you know. Maybe I can do a bit more styling options with my smaller locks. It obviously isn't going to take quite as long to maintain as, for instance, micro locks or sister locks. Again, with the size of my locks, people often ask me, how did I know what size to make my parts to get the locks that I wanted? So let's see. First of all, I actually anticipated my locks being smaller than they actually turned out to be. If you've seen pictures of when I first installed my locks, they were really tiny because my hair was blow dried, and then again, because it was blow dried, they weren't really swollen. So I thought they were going to end up being a lot smaller, kind of like micro lock size. but I knew I wanted a grid. I knew I liked squares, and I knew I wanted them to be a little bit smaller since I was going to be interlocking. So I just came up with a number, which was a 1/2 inch, and I wanted my parts to be right around a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. So they could be some nice little squares. So if you want to see kind of how big they are, my roots are slightly puffy. You can't actually see the size that well, but yeah, so this is the size of my parts. Okay. And rinse and repeat. So, and can I speak? To make sure my lock parting was consistent, I actually took, I think it was a clothes tag. I did the measurements, and then I kind of used that to kind of be my guide as I was doing my hair. How do I deal with frizz? I mean, I use a bunch of different methods. I palm roll. I have a crochet hook whenever there's like a lot of frizz, like kind of just hair not in the lock. I use a crochet hook to put it in the lock. But I also like using a needle with thread to put the hair back in the lock. I find it easier for me. Oh my gosh. My bad. So I figured, why don't I just bring everything that I use in my hair. So I maintain my hair with these. These are plastic yarn needles. The needle and thread that I was talking about. So right now I have yellow thread on there so you can see it. A crochet hook. This little bad boy. I think, what size is this? This is 0.6 millimeters. I'm not sure if it's the smallest, but when I went, it was the smallest. I think that's it. Yeah. And then also, because I really like to cut my hair, I have some shears. Gotta keep the shears on deck because some things need to be chopped. Any other questions? Oh, and another big question that I get all the time with me doing my hair myself is, how did I get my grid pattern? Let's try that again. Another question that I get often, because I've done my own locks, is how did I get my grid pattern to be a pattern that you can actually see myself. So what I actually did is, I think I have some pictures on my Instagram where I'm showing how I divided my hair, which I was using rubber bands, and I had my rat tail comb. I had my vanity mirror in front of me, and then I had another mirror, like one of the tall ones, the long ones, like the dorm mirrors, I think is what it's called. I had it behind me. So I would be looking in my vanity mirror, which then is reflecting from my dorm room tall mirror, which is showing the back of my head. So I had it parted. And I would then take strips of hair, and then I would section those off, and I would say, okay, this is going to be a row. And then I would do that for the whole thing on both sides so that my rows were even, and I had it pre-parted so that I could just get a move on it when I was actually installing the locks. And then I'm also just a particular person, so it probably took me so long because I was really focused on getting my grid just right. And people often ask as well, what tips do I have for someone just starting their lock journey? My tips are to remember that your lock journey is personal, and as much as you can to try not to compare your journey to others. I struggle with doing this all the time because I started with hair. Like, I started with a decent amount of length, and I'm still not back to that length, and I've had my locks for 1.5 years now. So it's just a struggle when you see some long, luscious locks and you're like, oh, I want that. And you'll get it eventually. or I'll get it eventually. So just, you know, try not to compare. And that's just for anything, you know. It's hard to, it's easy to compare yourself to anything on the internet these days because people are out here looking flawless, and you know, just let it be an inspiration. When I see a bomb makeup look, I'm like, let me go practice my makeup because I'm trying to get on that level, so I need to practice. Woo, okay, take 13. One thing about locks, in my opinion, is that I didn't have to be a product junkie anymore. And I wanted that for me. I was going through a big life change, which I was moving out of the United States. And I didn't want to be dependent on products because most of the products I can get in the States, I can't get where I am now. So I didn't want to be dependent on a bunch of products. And I know a lot of people still talk about what products they use. And I'm just thankful that I have a very minimal product routine, water, oils, and that's all I need to maintain my locks. So I would say don't go looking for a magic product that's going to make your locks lock faster, that's going to do XYZ. Frizz and the time it takes for your hair to lock is just part of your hair locking. It's just, there's just no magic that it's going to make it go any faster. Just be patient. This goes along with kind of comparing yourself to someone else's locks. If you take a picture of your lock crush to your loctician when you're getting your hair done and you want your hair to look like that, I think that's a bad idea because there's a ton of factors which makes one person's hair look like the way it does and why that may not be the same outcome for you. What their hair looked like before they locked, what's their hair density, what's their hair texture, all of those things have everything to do with what their hair looks like now. So, you know, just say you want your locks to look good, you want your locks to be relatively XYZ size, and your loctician should be able to tell you if that's feasible with your hair type or not. And then just go with the flow, you know. Whatever your hair turns out to be, love it. I think that's it. So if you guys have any more questions for me to answer, you can always leave a comment below. Or you can leave a comment on my Instagram, which is @homegrownlocs as well. And thank you so much. I hope to give you guys more content coming soon. And also subscribe to my channel because, again, I'm going to be trying to give you guys content. So yeah, thanks for listening. This piece is doing whatever it wants.